and opens up the normal way. When Jack and his family arrive, they learn everything like normal. However, there is only one group staying at the hotel, that being Frank, Ash, and Loomis. The whole first half is the entire Shining up to Jack being locked in the freezer, with Frank, Ash, and Loomis investigating around. Wendy seeks help of the three after locking him in said freezer. Loomis speaks with Jack through the door as Ash stands by and Frank looks through the halls, with Danny secretly following him. As Loomis is figuring out what's wrong with Jack, Frank finds another laminate configuration on display on a table as a decorative object. As Danny is told by Tony not to let him open it, Jack exclaims he's going to kill them all as Danny smacks the cube out of Frank's hands. After a short silence, Jack speaks normally through the door, saying he was sorry and didn't know what was happening, and just to let him out. Loomis says they will in the morning, if they're sure he's back to normal, to which Jack punches the door. Danny is taken aback by Frank's appearance, as he isn't concealing his face since he thought he was alone. Danny runs and Frank stoops to pick up the cube before hiding his face and meeting up with the others. Loomis suggests that Jack could have schizophrenia or dissociative personality disorder, but he would have to get a look at Jack first and have a face-to-face session with him to see how he immediately reacts to his questions. Loomis goes to his room to think. Ash tells Frank that Jack could be possessed by a Kandarian demon, as his behavior shows certain traits of a Deadite. Frank takes this as a possible location of the Necronomicon. Frank shows Ash the cube. He takes it and says he saw something like it in the Holy Cadre's vault, marked as extremely dangerous. Frank says that they would explain why the kid knocked it out of his hands, but how did he know? They look towards the noise and Danny is looking at them from his tricycle. He looks away and pedals off. Frank is standing guard at the freezer while Ash is trying to get through to the Holy Cadre's HQ, which is proving difficult with the phones down and radio not working for some reason. Loomis is walking the halls, still thinking, when he hears a scream. He draws his gun and goes to investigate. He's brought to room 237. He slowly walks in to investigate. Finding nothing, he goes to leave, and a closet door slowly swings, partially closed. Loomis opens the closet and finds Michael, who goes to stab him. Loomis opens fire, the bullet of which hits the door, leaving a hole. Michael is nowhere to be seen. Ash comes running in. Loomis asks if he heard the scream. Ash says he didn't hear anything and only came because he heard the gunshot. Frank comes in and is told what happened by Ash. They all stand in confusion as it fades to the next day. Everyone is on edge as they have to let Everyone is on edge as they have to let Jack out. Loomis has his pistol, Ash has a hatchet, and Frank is opening the door. They open, and Jack has smashed the light as the freezer is pitch black. He comes barreling out with an axe, which Frank catches and stops the blade from coming down on Wendy. Frank wrestles the axe out of his hands and to the chair where he is tied down. They ask how Jack got the axe in the first place, to which Frank responds he has no idea. There's the 1 minute he left him alone last night, but he doesn't think that could be possible. With Jack tied down, Loomis talks with him as Ash stands guard. Frank goes off to find a Danny for Wendy as he ran away when Jack came barreling out of the freezer. On his way through the halls, he is drawn to room 237 as he hears a voice calling him. He walks in. Nothing. He turns to leave the bathroom when he hears splashing and turns. Henry is standing in the bathtub asking, "Why?" As he constantly asks the same question, he reaches up and twists his head off, holding it in his hands. The head keeps asking why as the tub fills with blood spurting from the stump on the torso. It fills to the brim and overflows. The head asks one final question. What happens when all the monsters are gone? Who else does that leave? Frank flees the room, slamming the door shut and slumping on the hallway floor, crying. Danny is wandering the halls as the box in his hand, speaking to Tony with the other. You have to destroy it. How? Burn it. Danny walks to the big main fireplace, which has a fire suddenly lit. Danny asks Tony if he's sure, to which he replies, yes. Danny tosses it in the flames. There's an ungodly screech as the skeleton of something emerges from the ashes, grabbing a hold of the box and flying out the chimney, out into the blizzard. Ash comes in asking what happened, to which Tony responds, it's gone. Ash takes Danny into the other room, where Wendy, Loomis, and Jack are. Jack is acting normal and casual, greeting Danny as a father would. When Loomis continues with the questions, he becomes aggressive and tries to break the ropes. Frank comes in still collecting himself. Loomis gives them his findings, saying he can't give an explanation for his erratic behavior. Ash looks over Loomis's shoulder. Jack, behind everyone's back, has turned into a deadite, rotten through and disheveled. Frank confides in Ash what happened to him. Ash tries to deduce what is happening, putting together what Loomis saw, what Frank saw, and Wendy's account of what happened, and why it happened. He tells Frank something is probably messing with their minds, because he thought he saw Jack as a deadite, to which Frank responds he did as well. They go to interrogate Jack themselves, but he has broken out. They rush to find Loomis, Wendy, and Danny. They find them and barricade inside their room. They wait. Then Jack starts hacking at the door. He gets through and Loomis opens fire, hitting Jack in the shoulder. He leans into the hole he made. Here's Johnny style. How's Henry doing, Frank? And Loomis, Mikey says hi. Ash punches Jack in the face and he comes back, all deadite-y, before turning away down the hall. A little while later, Jack smashes a ladder through the window. Frank goes to remove the boards from the doorway with his sheer strength. Ash takes hold of Loomis's gun and goes to shoot Jack in the head, but Frank rushes over and pushes Ash's arm before the fire, shooting Jack in the shoulder. Jack falls to the ground and lays motionless. Frank and Ash argue. Frank saying he could be saved, and Ash saying that he's long gone and the real Jack is suffering. Every child should have a father. Think of it as a mercy killing. With Jack on the ground, Frank tears the remaining boards off the door. The group flees the room. On their way, they are intercepted by Jack, who is full deadite, smashing a picture frame with an axe. The whole group runs the other way, Ash throwing the hatchet but misses. Jack follows them and catches up, grabbing Ash by the arm. He takes the axe to Ash's wrist, and Ash is now handless. Ash reaches for the nearest object and smashes Jack's head with a croquet mallet. This leaves Jack sprawling on the ground. They all flee into the maze outside with the blizzard raging. They split up, Frank, Danny, and Wendy, and Loomis and Ash. Jack follows in, rubbing his head. He follows the trail of blood in the snow, maniacally smiling. Frank, Danny, and Wendy are tracking their way through the snow. Ash and Loomis discuss that since Dr. Jekyll's experiments failed, Jack may be hopeless. Ash adds that Kandarians don't leave until their host is dead. Frank's group ends up being cornered by Jack. He raises his axe, and just before he brings it down, he is shot in the back of the head by Ash. Jack loses his Deadeye qualities and is able to say that he loves Danny right before he dies. We cut to black. After the credits, the skeleton from the fireplace is seen flying into a dilapidated dungeon, where it places the Lamand configuration on a table with its scientific equipment, next to Jackal's journal and elixir. It disappears into a thin air. The creature, that is, the Lamand configuration, remains on the desk. A shadowy figure walks in and sets down the Necronomicon next to the cube. He lays a hand upon the box, and the camera pans up to Dracula.